Hi everyone, welcome back, Croeso, and welcome to the news. So today we're going to go and have a look at some of the latest news regarding archaeology and DNA, which are relevant to some of the topics we look at here in Britain's in history.
hmm We're a little bit behind with the first story, though.
We're a little bit behind. Yeah, we are. I mean, yeah, other people have covered it,
Not so new. The other two are
Yeah.
kind of a bit more up to date, but
Nonetheless, it'd be rude not to cover this one,
new
I
to
think.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Righty-ho. Okay, so this is the famous Melsonby Hoard up in Yorkshire, which was an excavation conducted by the University of Durham. Um, in the area of Britain, we would know about its ancient name of Brigantia. Um, and old boy has gone up and had a talk with him, and I'll send the link to his video in the description. He's interviewed the
Mm.
one of the professors there, or one of the academics there.
His
Um,
coverage has been is great, and I recommend everyone go and look at
yeah,
that if you haven't seen it already.
yes, absolutely that. But just to give a quick glance over it, then, what the reason why it's of particular interest to us at Britain's in history is its potential link, or not only because it's just they're amazing artifacts and
Mm.
um, just incredible to look at. Um, there's a possible link with Cartmundia, who was Queen of the Brigantes, who King Caradoc went to go and seek refuge with after being defeated by one of the Roman generals. I can't remember his name. And she betrayed him and handed him over to Emperor Claudius. So she's a big figure in the British historical tapestry. And also the nature of the artifacts and some of the styles supports our migration narratives, looking us through to Etruria and areas of the Middle East. So let's go and have a look into it. Um, guess should we start off with the gallery, Pete? And
Yeah, let's look at some pickies.
yeah, okay. So this looks like a chariot. I think they found it's like the first example of four-wheeled chariots in
Yeah,
Britain.
that's right. Yeah, four wheel. I think there was a two-wheeled one and a four-wheeled one remains
Fantastic.
of. Or maybe even two-wheeled ones and a four-wheeled one. I'm not sure. There was
Yeah,
definitely at least one of each. And yeah, it's the first example, but they have been found in Switzerland area before. Am I right in that saying?
yeah,
Switzerland, Austria, Germany.
yes.
Um,
Should be the Hallstatt culture.
yeah, yeah. Normally, they are normally earlier examples, aren't they?
Yes, yeah, there
Yeah.
are.
However, rather typical of the 10 style, with what Caleb would say is the Brutus migration,
Yeah,
essentially,
yeah,
is also large Etruscan style vessels, which I think is what that big greenish thing in the middle is.
here,
I
yeah,
understand. Yeah, yeah.
cool.
I
Super
don't
enough.
know. Yeah,
Right.
I don't know if there's, and that's definitely very much of interest to us as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I think there's some better pictures of it, hopefully,
Hopefully.
when they cleaned it up.
Yeah.
I think you've got a flip right and left on the
Oh
photos.
right. Okay. Yeah. Well spotted. Okay. Cool. Right. So these look like some of the iron tires that go on the chariot wheels, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, I think that's right.
around here. Wow.
Stunning, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I think there's some. This is coral, I think.
Really?
Yeah, which
God, that
is
metal is so well preserved.
mm, might be mistaken, but there are examples of coral in this hoard that are found, which is a decoration used in Etruscan and Phoenician yeah, pieces of artwork.
Yeah. You got there in
Got there in the end.
the end. Yeah, it's a beauty that. It's more like twisted up parts of Chariot. There's lots of like you get this in these Iron Age horses, loads of pieces of like metalwork, which would be on various things on horses, like bits and um, fasteners and things like that,
Right,
which you see right through into the early medieval period as well. That sort of
right.
nice things for horses. God, some of this looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Like so well, because sometimes these things just look like rusty lumps when they come out of the
Yes.
ground.
Yeah, they've done a really good job here. This potentially one of the bridal bits that I've mentioned.
Yeah.
Looks like it to me, just at a glance. Um,
Great picture. Oh,
great.
oh, they're like were they drinking vessels? Do you know, or was it are these like
I think they have been. I think they are mentioned. Yeah, I'm not
really?
sure if this is that, but there are drinking vessels mentioned.
It was just like this is the other thing amazing about this hall is it's absolutely massive, isn't it?
It's yeah. I think it's the biggest found, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So
So
this is why immediately there's an idea of associating it with a, a royal,
yeah,
I want to say burial very carefully. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, first century AD in that area, Cartmundia certainly stands out as a prospective
yeah.
owner of a board.
Does yeah, absolutely. Wow. So I think that's one of the might be one of the cauldrons mentioned, or I
Mm,
think there is a cauldron mentioned. So
amazing. Look at that style of decoration. That's
yeah,
absolutely, it's like straight out of, if you think of like the Battersea Shield or something like that.
yes, yes, definitely reminiscent of things we've seen before.
Yeah.
And you think they've got to delicately remove this from all of this muck here. It's like I think they're. It said that they were burnt. It was like
Yeah, I heard something about that. Yeah.
mass burnt offering or something. I don't know. Maybe if it is at the time of Claudius,
Mm.
who knows what the mind is of those Britons.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely think that a lot of hoard burials are generally, in times of violence, people are trying to hide their goods
Right,
before, before someone comes in. But I don't know, this feels a bit different, especially with the burning and that. It's not like hiding it, is it?
exactly. Yeah.
But
I
maybe that's why it was brought together in the first place. But I mean, surely the chariots have just basically been stripped apart in order to.
mm, yeah. So I mean that takes time, doesn't it? So who knows?
It's amazing that survived. Obviously, it didn't get very hot. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just I think I'll be very keen to keep an ear out of this and what develops from it, to be honest, because it's still early
yeah,
days,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. How many more pictures they got then?
But I think we've got five more,
Oh,
four more. Beautiful.
really? Yeah. I mean, it's just you
Cheeky.
really start to put an image together of sort of a general style, and
Mm,
it is fascinating. And there's definitely such an Etruscan influence, and let's say all of that Etruscan, from 600 BC onwards, is
mm.
Semitic or Phoenician styles. And then we just see that like explode in that sort of the 10 period.
Yeah, precisely.
And then it just seems to continue right down. I mean,
We've got the rain rings. Okay, so this is all
Hmm.
question stuff again.
Yeah,
Wow.
it makes sense as well for like if from uh, rulers basically having nice military things, and this is definitely a military culture that used horses either as cavalry, but mainly in chariots, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
mainly. Yeah.
so lots of fancy stuff for horses and chariots sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Can you
Yeah.
imagine? Can you imagine seeing an army of 10,000 chariots? It's just unreal, isn't it?
You'd have to turn your ships around, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, oh, it probably did.
Probably
Um,
did.
but yeah, I just can't believe it, and I guess there must have been a couple of roads around as well to use.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think that's what's indicated by the four-wheel chariot, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, okay, these maybe there is something to our ancient history. Maybe we did build some roads. Yeah, cool. Right, we'll go over to the analysis then. Analysis of the Melsonby Hoard has been limited by the treasure case process and is only just the beginning. However, we know it is a highly significant discovery, acting almost like an archaeological time capsule from the Iron Age around 2,000 years ago. Initial assessment suggests the objects were buried in the 1st century AD, near the time of the Roman conquest of southern Britain. Intriguingly, it seems that vehicles found at Melsonby might have their closest parallels in European Iron Age vehicles from France, Denmark, and Germany. Two large vessels found at either end of the metalwork deposit in Trench were intentionally placed upside down. They
Weird.
include a large cauldron and a more enclosed vessel with highly decorated shoulders that has similarities to the Mediterranean wine mixing bowls known as lebes. Cauldron bears some similarities to examples from Leicestershire in the Midlands of England and from Wiltshire in southern England. However, those finds are not as large as the Melsonby cauldron, which retains unique features including elaborate fish motifs depicted at the base that are very unusual for the period. The swirling pattern surrounding the fish echoes the late first millennium BC art style adorning metalwork from Europe, described as Latin style. A wine mixing bowl has parallels in Etruscan vessels and is decorated with coral beads or studs and two cast copper alloy masks or human faces.
So,
Okay.
you know what I'm getting at, I
Go
think
on.
that so they're pretty sure they know that they're pretty certain when it was buried,
Yeah.
when it went in, and or at least some of the artifacts they reckon they are like the latest they have those articles is this first century AD, right?
Hmm.
But this analysis, what they're kind of saying is that this is some really old stuff.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's heirlooms.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Like,
And this could have been stuff that came over in 500 BC and has just been passed down
yeah.
through royal families. And um,
Because there's examples of some of the cauldrons that they found in Wales where they've been patched up. It's like they've been transmitted through generation
mm,
to generation and have also been used and then have their final usage in their burial ceremony.
yeah,
This. So,
isn't the mold cape? Isn't that the same? It's like patched up with extra
mm,
bits and things like that.
that's right. That's right.
It's been like taken apart and put back together again. And
And it makes sense. It makes sense because it's so, this level of craft work. You know, you're not just going to throw it away. It's not like today
No,
where
no, absolutely.
you know, consumer culture. You know, back in the Iron Age, I'm sure it's a little bit more conservative with its things. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think it's a good shot. Yeah. Um,
But yeah, that's awesome. Right, next.
next, right. Can you see that? Does it
I
work?
can.
Great. Okay.
Mysterious. Ooh.
Ooh, what do
What
we
is
see?
mysterious about
Well, yeah, I mean, this is being considered as like a another sort of rewrite of South Welsh history. You know,
it? Hmm.
as being described by the archaeologists there, being led by Cardiff University this time. It's a cemetery of, I think, yeah, that's it, 70 graves around the seventh, sixth or seventh century. So this is like King Arthur period.
Hmm.
Um, I think,
They are dug. These are like rock cut graves, aren't they? They're
yeah,
dug into the limestone. Um, and they are 100% Christian burials as well.
yeah, I'm not sure if I think we can work that out by the alignment of graves, but
No, no, I agree. I agree.
yeah, yeah.
But I mean, they're still pretty certain that it's a Christian.
Okay, good. All right, cool, cool.
I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah.
I mean, from the time period, I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But what is the defining feature of this?
They're all women.
They're all women.
And
God forbid.
yeah, what's going on? Um, I think one of the other interesting elements of that is that they've demonstrated how these women were uh, taking on manual labor, basically, and they can tell
Yeah.
that by the bone analysis.
But they also had access to fancy crockery and fancy glassware.
They did, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can find.
And so this is important because, and well, both points together are important because it looks like you're looking at a nunnery of some sort.
Yeah,
It's just like a place where, and religious establishments at this time weren't set up for your average Joe or Jane, average Jane in this case. They were
yeah,
set up for elites. You know, these were the
exactly.
people who practiced this sort of thing. So this is why they had nice stuff to do their eating and drinking with. But they were the one, you know, doing the work. They were serving God in their way that they do. That's what it seems like to me. And why this should be a surprise I mean,
Hmm.
it's an amazing find, don't get me wrong, but um, Paul and Tim did a great video the other day. They went up to the place of Capel Gladys, the mother of St. Caddoc, and did, I mean, Tim made a comment about the size of the building. I think, you know, thought it a bit small for a nunnery, but
Yeah,
you know, the story, the history is that there's a nunnery. If she had a nunnery there, so why we shouldn't find the remains of nunneries from this period, is it really a head scratcher? I mean, I say, it's an incredible find to make,
yeah,
but
it is. It is. It is, but it shouldn't shock you, you know.
no,
Shouldn't shock you. Um,
we've
and
spoken before about writings by early Catholic priests who stayed with British monasteries and were absolutely appalled to see them eating and
mm,
drinking and practicing the religion with their wives.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and the other women living there. Now, obviously, this seems to be like a single sex operation. I think they found one male skeleton, I believe.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. They've
Didn't see
also
that.
found a couple in that seem to have been like discarded and not buried in a very nice way at all. But
Right.
one thought crossed my mind is if someone in some way uh, did not live up to their religious
Mm,
things, even if I'm not saying they were killed or something, but they may not have warranted a burial
yes.
with the saints, you
Yeah.
know.
Right, right.
Um, so
Yeah,
they and in the ditch that surrounds the outside is close enough. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
There's an
Right,
old
yeah.
tradition of unbaptized babies. Parents would used to just jump in over a cemetery wall and just bury them, just quickly bury them because they wanted their child in consecrated ground, which would be, elite, not allowed for unbaptized children. So there was this then like following on from that a tradition of putting babies' graves down the side of graveyards. And so,
Right.
and the idea was that it was sort of like close enough almost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Not quite invited into the
no,
party,
it's
but
kind of it's very sad, like
yeah, of course. Yeah.
but I do wonder if that's maybe that those remains did not warrant the same sort of treatment as the other people there by the standards of the people at the time. That is, it's not my I don't know what happened,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like they have a lot of extra evidence. That's all I've heard, really.
Yeah.
Things I've read. It's not like they've got loads of finds. Um, oh yeah, you were saying that was in an interesting place.
Yes. Just want to show its proximity to an interesting or important monastic site. That's what it's called. Fonmon Castle.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Not majorly close, but
But but I mean, it's just the area in general is really interesting. Um,
yeah. I was thinking it might have some significance with and close ties with Lanswick Major, but it's 2 hour walk away.
I'd do it. Um,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure St. Athan or Tathan of St. Athan is generally considered a female saint as well.
Ah, St. Athens. Yeah.
Although it is debated, some people disagree, you know. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a fascinating area, and full of incredibly rich of early Christian history. So, and
Exactly. Yeah.
there, this is like so many stories that we were saying this the other day, weren't we? So many stories that Ross used to do, where they'd find something and it would be like archaeologists are stunned to find this, and it's you think, well, if I if you read a certain history book, it wouldn't be too much of a
No.
surprise to you because it says it. And we see this time and time again. Even think like um, Richard Johnson did a great little walk around video at Tintagel recently. Um, well, I'll send you the link in a bit.
Yeah.
Um, it's such a fascinating place because this is another place where in the history, whether we think it's Arthur's birthplace or not, it says in the history this was a big place in the 6th century, really important. And then it was completely dismissed as, a 13th century
Mm.
folly almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what do they find? More 6th century high status pottery than virtually anywhere else in
Yeah.
Western Britain. I think only
Incredible.
Dinas Powers comes close to
Yeah.
rivaling it. And I think even then the quantities at Tintagel are way up. There's loads of it. So,
Mm.
and the archaeologists stunned to find it. Well, not the archaeologist who did it
Yeah.
because he knew what he was looking for. But yeah. So
Well,
anyway,
yeah. Well, what I'm learning, as I go on is that if there's a significant Plantagenet era castle,
mm,
um, it's probably and it's anything to do with the Arthurian epos in any way. This it's probably built on an earlier Iron
yeah,
Age British
yeah,
area
yeah,
settlement,
yeah,
but basically finding it all over the place. Tintagel is one
absolutely.
example, and actually where these people are buried is another example because you've got Fonmon Castle, which I think is a 12th century castle there.
Yeah,
It's a so it's like these they don't willy-nilly choose where to build these castles. There's
No.
kind of metaphysical significance to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one that
Yeah.
is again like they go for that Brythonic stuff. I talk about before the relationship in my area between in Launceston,
Yeah.
Llanstefan, and Lidford, and basically Saxon activities in Lidford basically sort of defunded Launceston quite a lot,
Mm.
and they shifted power, and the Saxons meddled with power in that part of Cornwall. And then when the Normans moved back in, they immediately went straight to Launceston, to Llanstefan again, and big
Mm.
priory there, and
Mm.
Motte and Bailey and all that.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's really interesting. Right,
It is. It is.
next.
Next. Okay. Next news article is Celts descended from Spanish
Hey,
fishermen. Study.
why does this say 2006 on it?
That's weird, isn't it?
I've only seen this recently,
This is, yeah, this has been all over Facebook and all over.
and I'm sure it's new. Why does
Yeah,
it say 2006? This is weird.
this is weird. Let me just copy and paste that headline into. So when was that, please?
Well, should we do it anyway? Yeah, I'm going to
Let's do
find
it
it.
anyway because it's
2006. Is
it.
this is 6 days? Maybe it's just like, is it just gone like weirdly Facebook popular?
That's right. It's being shared all over Facebook, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we'll address it anyway because we're
It's
doing it.
it's
But
quite different from the generally accepted. If this came out in 2006, I haven't heard a lot about it since.
no, I mean, yeah, I can kind of almost forgive the terminology used because it's that long ago, but mm, sort of. But it's funny. We're being told
Yes.
here that the Celts or the native inhabitants or the people who came here in the Neolithic period
Mm,
came from Iberia. They don't say Iberia, they say Spain, which is a modern terminology, but and they're saying that they're fishermen as well, which is interesting.
yes.
But anyway, a team from Oxford University have discovered that the Celts, Britain's indigenous people, are descended from a tribe of Iberian fishermen who crossed the Bay of Biscay 6,000 years ago. DNA analysis reveals that they have an almost identical genetic fingerprint to the inhabitants of coastal regions of Spain, whose own ancestors migrated north between 4 and 5,000 BC. The discovery of Brian Sykes, Professor of Human Genetics at Oxford University, will herald a change in scientific understanding of Britishness. Hmm. People of Celtic ancestry were thought to have descended from tribes of Central Europe. Professor Sykes, who is soon to publish the first DNA map of the British Isles, said about 6,000 years ago, Iberians developed ocean-going boats that enabled them to push up the channel before they arrived. There were some human inhabitants of Britain, but only a few thousand in number. These people were later subsumed into a larger Celtic tribe. The majority of people in the British Isles are actually descended from the Spanish.
Right. I think yeah. I don't think we need to read any more of
I don't think
that.
so either, because it seems like old science, to be honest. Because
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and I wonder if it's
yeah,
just, I definitely saw something. I'm sure it wasn't a Facebook thing that said about new research, but maybe it was. Bloody Facebook manipulating our consciousness here. But
maybe.
yeah, it is quite interesting in as much as though this isn't something you would normally. This I don't know if this went anywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
um, the
Well,
fisherman comment is really funny.
yeah.
I mean, I just don't even know. It's like some people just like imagine some sort of fantasy world in the past where like
Mm.
I don't know, where it's like a computer game where I don't understand where the fishermen don't just do that.
No.
Okay. So they may have been following certain like sea currents and temperatures, and then been like, all right, yeah, I could fish here, but I don't know. It's really interesting though the idea of also what they call like Celts from the West
Yeah.
um, today, uh, and challenging the idea of like a Central European
Mm.
movement, or that there was some coastal hopping going on. And
Yeah.
me and you have talked loads before about the relationship between Britain, northwestern France, and Iberia, and the fact that it's not it's not limited to the medieval period. It's not limited to the pre-Roman period. It's like it goes way back. Um, so like if there's like a grain of truth in this,
Mm.
I wouldn't be surprised that um the relationship between these places and that part of Spain, like
No.
the Neolithic monuments in that part of Spain are, again, just like any other of these
Yes.
Neolithic monuments, are really, um, so much like what we get in Britain and Ireland as well. So,
Yeah. I'm just reminded of a study which was done recently about an Irish connection with Spain as well.
oh
Um,
right, yeah,
I'll see if I can quickly find it, but it is a area of study which
yeah.
seems to be popping up every now and then.
And also we've talked before about the relationship between Britain and Iberia, and then Iberia and Iberia in
mm,
the Caucasus, and then of course Anatolia. So
yeah,
um, it that part of Spain, it seems to be where the kind of the two worlds meet, the Oriental and the Occidental in terms of Europe.
yeah.
That's really well for Britain anyway, for Northern Europe. Um, that seems to be like a really important place, and for that sort of thing to happen.
I mean, Spain plays a significant role culturally in even when we're trying to look for evidence of Cauldron,
Mm,
and
yeah,
you've got hilltop forts there, haven't you, as well?
yeah, that's right.
And this is later Iron Age stuff, of course, but
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, it seems to be this geographical area for cultural transmission
yeah.
into Europe. Um,
The Bronze Age as well. There's definitely a seems to be like strong similarity between Western British cultures and Iberian cultures. It's just like all throughout.
yeah, this is
Oh yeah,
Celtiberian
yeah,
um, alphabet. I find it interesting that it's like Yolo has to have invented a Celtic cipher or a British cipher, but actually, if you go to Spain, you just find it anyway. Do you know what
yeah.
I mean? And it's
It's
used
got
by
a
the
slightly
Celts.
bit more of a Greek twang, isn't it? In some
Yeah, yeah,
places, yeah.
yeah. True. If anyone
But
didn't,
yeah, it's so similar.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Definitely comes from that the old Proto-Hebraic
Hmm.
Grecian alphabets, which the Druids of this country were recorded to have been using anyway. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Awesome.
all right, I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that was an even older news story than the first one we
That we
did.
meant,
We didn't
yeah,
even know it. I thought
yeah,
it was up to date. But yeah, this is really interesting. I mean, great to see where this dig goes. Like if they get more finds and
yeah.
um but yeah, absolutely awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Take care.